I'm wedding and portrait photographer Vanessa Joy, and we are going to talk about the Canon RF 28-70 2.0 lens. This thing is a beast. All right, so getting into all of these specs, which we do want to talk about the specs, but I promise you I'm going to show you how I actually used it and give you a hands-on review of this lens, because I don't just want to read you a spec sheet. I never do. I want to talk to you about my experience with it and why I like it or why I don't. But first of all, some things to note about this lens. One, it is freaking heavy. This is a beast of a lens. It is huge. This is not for someone who wants to have a light bag to carry around. However, because it's a 28-70 at 2.0, this potentially replaces a 24, I mean it's actually 4 millimeters, but a 24, 35, and 50 millimeter prime lens. Because of the range of this thing at 2.0, you're essentially getting 3 prime lenses in one. So if I were to stack together a 25, a 35, and a 50 millimeter prime lens, you know what? Compared to that, this is lighter. Now, granted, this is going down to 2.0 and not down to 1.2 or 1.4 like those other prime lenses, but for my style of shooting, I usually don't go that low anyway. I tend to hover somewhere around 2.5 to 3.2. Now, this lens is only for mirrorless cameras, so you cannot adapt this to fit onto your DSLR. The shots that you will see that I have used with this lens are from the Canon EOS R and the Canon EOS R6. Now, as you can imagine, this bad boy is not cheap. It comes in just under $3,000, and by just under, I mean $1 under, and it's certainly gonna go higher once you add sales tax onto that. Definitely for the professional photographer or advanced hobbyist, or someone with just a lot of money to burn. That being said, if you do stack those 3 prime lenses that I mentioned this one is potentially replacing, it's definitely less expensive than 3 of those lenses. So it's a give and take, and it's also a matter of your workflow and how you work. The very first time I took this lens with me as a conscious choice, where I thought to myself, I need to have this lens, was when I was photographing a proposal. It was a proposal that was on the stage of the Gershwin Theater in New York City on Broadway. Definitely an amazing proposal, but they couldn't promise me that the lights would be turned on. As a matter of fact, they told me the lights would essentially be turned off. So in my head, I needed to photograph this proposal, really dark circumstances, and because it was obviously a secret, I couldn't be marching in there with a crap ton of gear and a flash, an off-camera flash, because it would have given away what was happening. Before the actual proposal, the groom-to-be arranged a flash mob to dance to their favorite songs. So now I have dark, can't use flash, and people dancing that I need to capture with a faster shutter speed. It was like a triple whammy of, oh my gosh, I'm going to fail. But I thought to myself, oh, and then on top of it, what do I need to get? I need to get wides, and then I need to be able to get more close up so that I get the reaction of her face and I get, you know, everything going on and the flash mob. And this lens literally saved my butt. Before I tell you too much more about this lens, if you'd like some posing inspiration, there's a lot of posing we're gonna go over in all the pictures that I've shot with this lens. Make sure that you hit the link below for my free posing guide. Helps you out with individuals, couples, and groups. All right, so the very first job, here it is right here. It's actually, don't worry, I'll go through the rest of these photos. Don't panic. Right, so this is a good example. You've got everyone dancing around behind you, and I was all the way up at 6,400, being down at 2.0. I mean, at this rate, really just the 2 of them are in focus. Everyone else is blurry, but I was at 200th of a second on my shutter because look at this. I've got jumping, I've got dancing, and I have to be able to capture that. And this was at 28 millimeters, so the widest I could get. Transformed to when she actually got proposed to. I wasn't zoomed in all the way. I did do some where I zoomed in and zoomed out, but this is that quintessential shot, the one that they absolutely love. Again, all the way up at 6400 ISO because I knew they weren't moving. I dropped my shutter down just slightly to 160th of a second, and I'm all the way down at 2.0. I would not have been able to get this job done correctly without this lens. Easy, because the other problem was I could only carry so much. I couldn't carry an arsenal with me, and I needed to have the freedom to be able to zoom in and out without having to worry about switching lenses. Because what's gonna make you miss a moment more than anything else? Futzing with your gear. So this was a lifesaver for me. Let's take a look at the other photos and the other times I have used this. Now I haven't used this at an actual wedding yet, but I certainly will once that R5 comes out and I get my hands on it and I start shooting weddings with it. Okay, so right off the bat, this was a shoot that I did for Adorama's Instagram, and I knew I was gonna photograph my daughter, so we got some great portrait shots here. But in addition, I knew she was gonna be moving around a lot because she's 5. That's what they do. All right, so we have jumping on the bed that I had to go all the way up again to 6400 ISO. I wanted to do this natural light because the whole shoot was all about, you know, doing it at home and concentrating on things at home, and I didn't want to close off what I was trying to share with people by needing to use flash. I was trying to make it accessible to anyone, even if you don't have a flash. So I had to go high on my shutter speed, 500th of a second again, all the way down at 2.0 on my aperture. So just some of the shots that we got from there. I mean, it's a super crisp, gorgeous lens. I mean, if I zoom in on this one, bam, right there. And this is at ISO 2000, so it's a testament to the R how clear this is as well. Let me see right here, there you go. Nice shot. Got her eyes right in there. Super crisp, and that's at 1600 also. All right, moving on, looking at a little bit more low light. This was shot at 8000, so definitely a little bit more, and this is all JPEG and JPEG processed. Very little bit because this was shot on the R6. Pictures before were all shot on the R, but this is the R6, so I couldn't process any raw files, so we're stuck with JPEGs, but I think that's good for you to just see exactly how it comes out and how I was using it. So for this, we were photographing a gamer, very dark room, nothing but blue and red lights, so really not ideal. Again, can't use flash, so I'm all the way down at 2.0, and this lens, you know, I was getting behind the scenes of the film shoot. There's my husband, Rob, who edits most of the videos here on YouTube, so I'll probably edit this one. All right, and you know, it was a great lens. It has a specific purpose, but it easily gets you out of jams, amazingly. This is another shoot. It was behind the scenes. We were in a club, AKA my studio, and we had fog going and lights, and again, no real white lights, so just difficult in general. And this lens performed wonderfully when it came to fast focusing and making sure that it stuck with. I always have AI servo on with my mirrorless camera, so it's eye tracking and moving along with my subject. And it did a beautiful job. I'm getting in some of these details here. This is one of my favorite shots, love that one. And just being able to get, again, wide if I need to, all the way wide, like something like this, or be able to zoom in a little bit closer to these shots here. And again, these are ISO 1600 right now, and I was trying to, again, keep a high shutter speed because he's bopping and moving, he's DJing and moving around. I got to be able to freeze that action to an extent. So pretty good stuff. Yeah, the only white light came from his computer. All right, so really, really useful lens. Now, a second time, actually, I used this lens. I was doing headshots. So these are good examples of using this lens for headshots. So I was able to use it right in a hotel room, natural light, reflector on the opposite side of the window. The window is on the right side, and get some really gorgeous headshots. And then of course, a group photo of them too. Now here, this is the engagement session that I shot from the proposal. He proposed to her the night before and then surprised her with an engagement session the next day. So amazing. So these were shot outdoors, finally a little bit more ideal circumstances, but again, I was able to carry this lens instead of carrying around 3 different lenses. So what I actually did, I carried around my R with this 28-70, and then I had my 135 that actually just kept on my DSLR, my Canon 1DX Mark II at the time, just because I think I had the adapter, but I wanted to be able to just switch back and forth without having to switch lenses at all, and it worked really great. So being able to get nice close-ups here, and just look at that right in the background. Let's just zoom into that for a second. Super crisp, right on her eyes, and gorgeous bokeh behind. And that's the kind of thing you expect to see, obviously, at 2.0. But really cute, able to capture that motion as they're kind of walking along the street, coming up the subway. I really loved this lens. And you can see that I kind of varied it a lot. This is shot at 70, that's at 51, this was at 47, that was 70, 56. It gives me a lot of freedom when normally I am shooting with all prime lenses, and if I want to zoom, do it with my feet. It was kind of nice to have the freedom to go nice and low on an aperture and then be able to do all the zooming and get the variety of essentially 3 different prime lenses that I would typically use all in one. So long story short, this little darling, or rather this really big darling, oh my gosh, it is like, this is how I do my shoulder exercises. This is crazy. So not for the faint of heart, but you know what? Do you even lift, bro? But it's a great lens. It really is. It's definitely one that I am happy to have kind of on loan for quite some time now. I think they may have forgotten I have it, and that's okay. Let's not tell them. Don't tell them. It's a hefty price, but I think it's worth it. I think this is probably, if you are shooting mirrorless, this is the best lens that you can get that'll give you that versatility. It'll lighten your, even though it's a heavy lens, it'll lighten your bag because it's replacing essentially 3 different lenses. Nice low aperture, zoom lens. I can't say enough about it. This is a lens to have, to hold, and to keep, and to love and cherish for as long as we both shall live. I'm Vanessa Joy. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And as always, ring my bell.